Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Celtic Unlisted Review podcast. My name is Ryan Clifford, and Celtic have a new sign on the horizon. It's Alexandro Bernabei from Argentina. And to get the lowdown on the player potentially signed for Celtic, we have Seba on the podcast. Seba, absolutely fantastic to have you on. And I just hope I've got your name right because I'm no good with the foreign names, mate.
Completely right. Don't worry. How are you? Thanks for having me here.
No, I'm good, mate. As I said, it's good to have you on. And obviously, back here in Glasgow, we can only go on kind of like YouTube and the Twitter side of things, which has been the Twitter kind of gauge has been quite popular the last few years in transfers, and especially for overseas, we don't really get a lot of TV from over there, etc. So, getting guys like yourself on to talk about the players that you know more about than we do, it's fantastic to have a bit of, I would say, exclusive information because we don't really get a lot of info from at any site really because we don't get to see over here.
No, it's no. But so that is why it's quite nice to be here. Interesting to have a chat to discuss different point of view. Especially you've been from here and I'm from Argentina, even though I'm living in Glasgow. So it's funny that.
As I say, just in Glasgow, so I don't get to know much about the football over in Argentina. It's really just like your Messi's, Aguero's, your Di Maria's. Don't really see Bernabei's kicking about his name. So when yourself, I know you work in journalism, so what's a bit of background about yourself and when did you hear about this transfer to Celtic?
Of course that I've been tracking or I'm always tracking the relationship between Celtic and the rest of the world, and especially if the club is linked with South American players. I think that was a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not wrong, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or so, the Celtic was linked with Francisco Ortega. He's another left back from a club called Vélez Sarsfield. And of course that since then, everything was started to build up about a new player. And when we figured out that when I received the message saying Celtic is looking for Bernabei and they are in talks, it was okay that this has started to happening. So yeah, I'm glad for that as an Argentinian, of course.
I can remember the rumours about Ortega. Again, you hear the name, a bit of interest, you go do a bit of digging, and to be fair, by all accounts, I think he would have been a decent player as well for Celtic. I don't know much about him, but going by his stats and by what fans on Twitter and were saying, he seemed to be a decent prospect to sign as well if he did sign.
Yes, well, Ortega is another young player as well, like Bernabei. So he's playing for a club which is not part of the five biggest club that we used to say in Argentina, but of course that we know that these kind of clubs are the kind of teams that they will always develop good players, especially young players. So Ortega is a good player. He's still there, but we Celtic got Bernabeu in this case, so it is going to be good for him as well.
Because obviously, Celtic have been crying out, probably for me anyway, for a very, very good left back for a good few years now, since obviously Kieran Tierney left. With a Greg Taylor who's progressed to be a decent left back, I would say, this season. But any listeners who listen to the podcast, I feel that Celtic need a really, really good proper left back. I would say Greg Taylor's he's decent for maybe the Scottish level. But I feel that obviously the level we're going to now, obviously group stages, Celtic need I would say a top draw left back, somebody to come in and play week in, week out and fit Ange's system to the way we want to play at a higher level and play against obviously higher level players. And by all accounts, Bernabei's quick, for what I'm seeing, very attacking. Maybe defensively he could do a bit better, but I'm only going by what I look at. I don't know him ins and outs, but I would definitely say that he fits the style of play Celtic want to play.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, actually, you mentioned Kieran Tierney, and Bernabeu is this kind of players, right? The kind of left back who will always look at the the opposite corner, the opposite box that they always want to get into the line to get across, or to get into the box actually, or to shoot from outside the box. So this kind of players fast as well. Of course, there's something important to take to consider now. He's not Kieran Tierney. First of all, because he's not from Celtic, so Tierney knows exactly how it is to play at Celtic. And of course that is something that I'm always telling when I'm chatting with journalism or podcasts in Scotland. South American players need to have time to get settled in Europe. I'm not saying in Scotland, I'm saying in the entire Europe. So of course we will not pretend him to take 3 assistants in the first game, 2 goals. It's not possible. Well, hopefully, maybe I'm wrong, and first game and he made 2 assistants. But the point is that he needs to settle in the country. And with Ange Postecoglou, a manager who knows exactly how to deal with non-European players, I think that's going to be a good point to take here.
Because I do agree with you. Because I feel that, especially Celtic fans, even sometimes myself, you kind of judge players too quickly, and you expect them to come in right away and do well. And it's probably the same on the other side of the city as well, Rangers. I do believe that the Celtic fans, I think maybe realistically, because of how Ange's done these signings, that they're going to expect players to come in right away again this year and be amazing right away. And I feel that I don't want fans to think that, because, like you say, especially South American type of players, they've never any South American or Brazilian guys of that level have come in and done well in previous years. We've had Juninho in the past, and Efrain Juarez, he was Mexican. They didn't really hit it off. Don't get me wrong, Juninho was nearing his end of his career. He wasn't in his pomp, shall I say. He wasn't the Juninho of down south. But being honest, I've got a good feeling about this guy just by the way I've seen his stats, the way I've seen, again, YouTube only shows you the good bits, we all know that, but his highlights have been good. He seems very, very quick, and I think, Seba, that's very vital to Celtic play, and just try to get guys, especially going forward, who are very quick and direct, and I think Bernabei will suit that to a T.
Yes, Celtic fans need time for this. They need to give the players, especially non-European players, time. It's not easy, and especially during the last years, the gap between the both continent, Europe and South America, is difficult. It is difficult. Of course, I would like to see him like Kyogo, who scored I don't know how many goals during the season, and Hatate as well. But of course, that it's not that easy. So I think that Celtic know what he's doing. Actually, I'm gonna say something that I haven't said yet on social media. He's gonna sign if all the checkups are going well for 5 years with Celtic. So that is gonna be interesting to know, because Celtic is thinking about this player as a player that can get a profit in the future, right? Because Bernabeu knows that he's gonna go to Celtic because he wants to jump to, let's say, one of the 5 biggest countries or leagues in the world, in Europe. But he knows that he's gonna play in Champions League, so it's gonna be difficult, of course. Fortunately, he's coming during the summer in Glasgow, so it's gonna be even better for him. But apart from that, I think that he's gonna do it well. Just we need to be in order with what we pretend from him at the start of his journey.
So I think as well, like you say, he's coming in the summer, so he'll not be coming in December when it's snowing, and he will get a bit of a scare of the weather. But I do feel that he fits the bill, in my opinion, from the way Ange wants to play, and I do agree that the fact he's very quick, it's going to fit to the way we want to play. And I got a comment from a YouTube there, Seba. Can Bernabei play as a fullback, and has his match play with Lons shows he's able to play high and wide with Ange? Will he be asked to play up the pitch a lot, and can he play the inverted fullback role?
Yes, actually, yeah, I think so. Actually, he was doing that in the last game for Lanús, just before he was sent off, for unfortunately. But he was doing it for Lanús. See, when um Ange Postecoglou wants Juranovic or Taylor to play just
Mhm.
a bit closer to McGregor, or even Haddad when he's playing. He can do it. That is why he scored a lot of goals from outside, because he's trying to get not only wide, not only close the line, but just trying to get into the center of the pitch. So it's a player that you can use it in different part of the pitch. And knowing Ange for the last season, I think that's really good.
Because it's interesting as well. You say that again, some fans don't like they don't like the fact that players come here and then they move on, maybe for a year or two, etc. But I think the way football's going now, Celtic are a stepping stone for a lot of players. As much as we don't want to admit that, but players will come here who'll have maybe 2 or 3 good seasons, 3 seasons at a push. And if they're very, very good, within maybe 6 months, interest is going to start getting bigger. And by all accounts, like you say, Kyogo, Hatate, as soon as Kyogo came for a few games, there was interest going down south right away, and Southampton, etc. So players will get noticed at Celtic, and especially as you mentioned, the European football, which is a big draw, I would say, for the Champions League group stages. Bernabei's going to get 6 games, 6 guaranteed blockbuster games. It's going to be everywhere around the world. And I'm guessing as well by that, he could get noticed international level as well, even more than he would be playing back home.
Uh, yes, definitely. I think that one of the most difficult competitions in the world is the Copa Libertadores, which is the equal of Champions League in South America. It's really tough. It's really difficult, especially because you played in completely different environments. So I think that Bernabeu would do it well for Celtic. But once again, I'm sorry if I repeat it, they need time because it's South America or is a different part of Europe, and the players are not used to that. So I think that he has a level to perform at Celtic, of course, as he has that level, and especially in the league. So of course that it's going to be good for the manager and for even Greg Taylor, because he wasn't with an actual left back to compete with. So of course that I really I'm really looking forward to see Bernabeu with the hoops.
As am I as well, mate. And hi to Celtic forever there. Hi guys. Yeah, definitely. I'm actually really impressed by what I've seen so far from. Again, it's only bits and bobs. We can't see him fully, obviously, because we stay over in Glasgow. But I do agree that the Champions League, especially for players like Bernabei, will be a big draw. And I just hope that the fans do give him time and they don't get maybe restless if he doesn't have the best 2 or 3 games to start off with. But I think Seba, the fact he's coming in before pre-season, he's going to have a few weeks and a few games pre-season wise to kind of get yourself acclimatised to the country and Celtic and really Glasgow's a club. Glasgow's a country.
Yes, and that's something even more important that I cannot see in Europe, but I can see in South America, not only in Argentina, in the entire South America, and is that the players need to perform under the pressure of actually being a success, because they need to live with that. They need to get a good career in order to save their lives, as you can say, because of the background or this kind of thing. So when you put that pressure on this kind of players like Bernabeu, when you need to play Champions League and you need to perform for one of the biggest club in Europe, which is Celtic, you know what are you gonna expect. So of course that it's gonna be a challenge for every single player in Celtic, but Bernabeu knows how to deal with that. He's young, and that is why Ange Postecoglou will be there, and the rest of the board and all of them. So the kind of pressure that he will have in Celtic is going to be interesting for him.
And that's I say capital, the country
Yeah.
Glasgow, in the city Glasgow. No, I generally believe that by the sounds of it, Ange's marked Bernabei to be his main man. Is the fee about 3.75 million? Is that roughly correct? Yeah.
Yes, we do. I don't actually have the exact fee because contracts. I mean, they are dealing with all the paperwork. Bernabeu is just flying to Europe to make the medical checkups and everything. So the actual contract we will probably know soon, or at least with something. I told before that he's gonna sign, or he would sign for 5 years at Celtic, which is like a common contract, when you want someone to stay and then to sell him. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I hope we have a few Argentinian flags at Celtic Park.
Because, like you say as well, Celtic, by the way Ange's been working and his process of recruitment, and obviously the boards, Michael Nicholson, they've been kind of working well. Nicholson and Ange have done well since Nicholson's been appointed, obviously, doing the recruitment side. And I do feel that the fact that players are getting 4-year deals and 5-year deals, Ange is going to be here for a while. By all accounts, he wouldn't be giving players, like you say, these deals if he didn't rate them as players and didn't think they would do well for the club in the future term financially. Mm. So the fact he's given Bernabei a 5-year deal, he obviously rates him very highly. And like you say, there's going to be some gold in the Celtic pot if he does really well.
Yes, definitely not. And I think that you mentioned it before. Ange knows how to get players, apparently, because all of them, or 90% of the players that Celtic got in the last season since Ange's at the club, they were really good. And I remember the first game for Giacomakis, who was struggling a little bit about playing at Celtic and especially playing at home. And now every time he's playing, he's scoring. So we need time. Players need time, of course. And with Champions League now, who you want to play Champions League? Celtic were expecting that games for a long time. So when a South American player is asked how do you feel of thinking of playing Champions League, they all will say that it's the most beautiful experience that a player could have. So Bernabeu hopefully will be there, and that's going to be incredible.
Do you think then, obviously, as you mentioned, the Champions League is quite a big draw for the type of players? Do you think maybe that if Bernabeu comes and within a few weeks he settles in and he starts playing really well, it could be a trigger for Celtic to maybe go for other players in that league or the same team, and some of the players might be like, oh, if he can do well at Celtic, then I could go as well and do well, and it could actually maybe be a thing like the Japanese thing where Ange, like he's got 2 or 3 good players. It might be the same with Bernabei, 2 or 3 players could fall, and it could be a link between Celtic and the clubs.
Yes, definitely. That is why we can start to see more players from different part of the world, which is really good. Some regulations have changed in the UK in the last 2 years to make this possible. And South American now for a South American is easier to get a chance to play in the UK and especially in Scotland. So of course that if Bernabeu performs well, another player will see and say, okay, it is possible to do it. It is possible to play Champions League. It is possible to be champions. It's possible to play in a big club. So yeah, definitely.
And there's a question as well from YouTube, Seba. Well, obviously he gets suspended. Will that carry on to Scottish football? Will he be suspended? Do you not know how the rules work, if that works?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna check that. I'm not entirely sure because it's like it's complicated, right, between 2 different countries. But maybe he can pay that send off playing friendly games. I don't know. We need to see how this exactly works.
Got a question as well from the YouTube. How long is the flight? Is it quite a long time to? Will we have to fly, stop over, and then come again, or is it a straight flight?
No. You need to fly quite a lot of hours. I have done this too many times since I moved to the UK, and it's complicated. Actually, there's no flights directly to Glasgow.
Okay.
Those flights are to London. But you need to stop in Brazil but without leaving the plane. So you will stop like in Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, it depends, and then you fly to London. So it's around 16 hours to London. Then you need to take another flight to Glasgow.
So he's got quite a long way before he comes to Celtic.
Yeah.
So by all accounts, if that's the case, it could be again, obviously, all going well with America and the talks. You may be talking by the weekend then, obviously by flights, etc. It could be maybe the weekend before he is hopefully announced a Celtic player.
Yes, he should be soon in Scotland. I mentioned before that he's on his way to Europe to make all the medical checkups and everything to see if the players if he's all right, if everything there's something wrong. All of course before getting the sign and everything, but it shouldn't be a problem that. So yes, once he's there, of course, and both clubs will announce the player.
And obviously as well, for me anyway, Celtic this season, even though we've won the league and we've done very well and technically we're very, very good players, I still feel we're missing a bit of bite in the middle of the park. I don't really want to swear, but like nasty bastards, I would say. Somebody a bit of dig in the middle of the park. Since really Scott Brown, we've not really got that. We've got very good players like McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly, very good technically. But I feel, do you think Bernabei on the left side, is he got that in? Is he technically very good, but with a bit of dig in him as well? Because by all accounts, if he's had a red card, he must be a bit feisty.
Yes. And in Argentina, you will always have this kind of I don't want to say problem because it's not a problem, but the kind of rough football. We have good players as well, but we also like to have this kind of football. Of course, as you mentioned, Scott Brown, who's gonna be difficult to replace him, especially in the next years. But I think that Bernabei is the kind of players that you have skills, you have the technique, and if you need to be strong, he would do it.
Because I do feel that we're lacking that, especially I would say especially the left back position. Greg Taylor is very good when it comes to going forward in a wee bit, but I think defensively it can be a bit soft. And I do feel by all accounts, listening to yourself and watching Bernabei play on obviously the highlights, it does seem a bit rough and ready, and especially coming from, like you say, Argentina. You're not really going to get people who are soft playing in that league, are you?
No, definitely not. That's something that, you know what, when I have in a chat with different fans, and they said to me, no, but the Scottish football is rough. Yeah, I know that it is, but the Argentinian it's too much. I've worked as a journalist in different divisions in Argentina, from the top tier to the last one, and I really know how difficult sometimes it could be, because I was close the pitch, I was close that battles, and so he knows how to do it.
Because obviously as well, Celtic, massive fan base. Obviously, Champions League nights will be, the atmosphere will be unbelievable. It's probably, for me, it's probably the best atmosphere in the world in a Champions League night at Celtic Park. 60,000 fans. He'll be adored by the fans, obviously, if he comes in and plays well. But even if he's just a Celtic player, by maybe a few days, they get to know his face. He'll get stopped in the town. He'll either get loved by the Celtic fans or he'll get abused by the Rangers fans. That's just just the way, obviously, you've stayed in Glasgow, Seba. That's just the way, obviously, the football goes in this city. But I do feel the fact, like you say, he's played in front of big capacities in Argentina. The atmosphere is kind of hostile. I don't think come to Celtic playing in these big crowds will phase him because he's obviously had that under his belt already.
Yeah, football in Argentina is hostile not only at the stadium as outside the stadium as well, especially in these clubs which they need to win everything. Even though Lanús once again is not one of the biggest club in Argentina, it's far from being one of the biggest club. But during the last 20 years, they were performing absolutely perfect, and they won a lot of international cups. But it is rough and it's tough for them. He will probably find that different than in Scotland, but we know how everything is related to fans when they are not doing it well, that they will pressure and they want to get in the best way possible, which is football. And we all want that, especially in a club who always need to win and be champions in the country. So I think he will get that.
Because obviously, back here in Glasgow, we don't really know the standard of the football. Obviously, you've got teams like Boca Juniors and stuff, but how's the standard of the football in the league? Is it obviously? I know you stay here, so you know the standard of Scottish football. Is there any comparison, or would you say the Celtic Rangers are kind of a bit far ahead in the standard, or would there be any kind of chinks in the armour in the both leagues?
I think that the difference between Europe and South America is the money and the opportunities that you can have here in Europe rather than in South America. But let me tell you that I will defend my part of the world and saying that most of the European clubs are always looking for South American players. And you have Luis Diaz, who is playing for Liverpool. He's performing absolutely amazing. And Liverpool has signed again another Uruguayan. And you see Brighton with another Paraguayan. So the football in South America is really difficult. And you need to get that. That's why you cannot find too many European managers playing managing in South America, apart from, I don't remember the manager of Palmeiras, a Brazilian team who won 2 Copa Libertadores in the last years. He's from Portugal, but of course that is difficult. The level, of course, that you can compare with Scotland. I think that you have better teams in Argentina than in Scotland, but when you see Celtic and Rangers, of course that they are better than the Argentinian teams. But I would like to see a Celtic Rangers playing against Boca, River, Independiente, Racing, and San Lorenzo, which are the 5 biggest biggest teams. I would like to see a game between them. It would be difficult for the Scottish team.
Yeah, I actually find that interesting, especially I would say Boca. Obviously, they're kind of very well known. Had a lot of fantastic players playing with Boca, and I do believe that I think if Celtic went over to Argentina, they would probably get beat just by the atmosphere and how hostile it would be. Because let's be fair, I think if Celtic went over there, I think the fans would be absolutely buzzing for the game. And I do believe that there's talent. I've always said, Seba, there's talent everywhere in the world, even smaller nations. But I think Argentina, again, because we don't really see it a lot on TV, we can't really see the talent unless, like yourself, either you speak about it or there's links in the papers or the press back here. But by all accounts, for what I'm seeing from yourself and other people writing on Twitter, he's got a kind of good reputation, up and coming. He's very young, obviously wanting to learn. Come to Celtic under Ange, you'll get a good coaching education. What would you class as his attributes that would maybe suit Celtic and maybe that we'll see his fans come to the fore as he progresses at Celtic?
Yes, you're talking exclusively about Bernabei, right?
Yeah.
He's fast and he's always looking, as I mentioned before, to get into the box, which is basically what Celtic is looking for as well, because most of the games in the Scottish League, Celtic have the position, have the ball, have the football, makes everything work for the team itself. And Bernabei is the kind of players that can suit in this team. But I would say that he's young and he's fast and he's good with the football on his feet. So that's a good point for Celtic and the recruitment and with Ange Postecoglou as well.
Because for me anyway, Seb, I would say that Ange has obviously done his homework and the team recruitment, because very, very seldom do you get any links to South American teams these days anyway. Recently, I think the last one was Efrain Juarez from the top of my head. Again,
we got Celtic got Laxalt, which is from Uruguay, but he came from Europe, but it's not like this one that you take the actual flight from Buenos Aires to Glasgow.
But even Laxalt, I'm guessing you might know a bit more about him than me. I only know him from when he came to Celtic, but I was quite excited when he came. Obviously, came from AC Milan. Normally these days, big clubs like AC Milan don't sign you unless you've got something. Well, I know he came to Celtic at the wrong time. Then obviously we're going for 10 in a row, and the club started in a bit of turmoil, on and off the park. Sorry, obviously COVID hit, so he couldn't really integrate with his teammates as such as you would normally, as you will now. But I thought when he came, he was his first 2 or 3 games, I thought it was really good, and then obviously it didn't kind of progress. But on Laxalt, I thought he was going to be a good player, but obviously it didn't work out.
Yes, I agree with you, although I think that season for Celtic was one of the worst in the last 10 years, probably. I don't remember any single player who actually performed well during this season. And I'm not defending Laxalt because I know that he started well and his performance declined a wee bit, but I actually was expecting more from him. But I think that the entire season was really bad for Celtic. And you mentioned COVID, you mentioned all the restrictions, the atmosphere wasn't the same that Celtic fans are used to it. So it was quite tricky. And in this case, is different. And that's something that is interesting as well. Maybe Laxalt was already used to Europe, and Bernabei he knows when he has the fans on his back saying, "Nah, run, or shoot," or you know what I mean.
But I think as well, obviously, even the start of last season, there was some restrictions and stuff. Any new signings, including Bernabei, will come to Celtic basically as normal. So he'll be able to go out to town and see the city and kind of get himself acclimatised to the culture in the city. So he's probably coming at the perfect time, like I said, pre-season. He'll be able to maybe have another few days off to kind of relax and get yourself set for the season ahead. And I'm really excited on the prospect and the fact he's young. I don't think he's going to be coming here to sit on the bench. I don't feel that at all. No. I know Greg Taylor's done well, but I don't think he's going to be coming here to just be a bit part player. I think he's signing him to be the main left back, in my opinion. Obviously, Greg Taylor could be very, very exciting in pre-season. He's come to see a challenge by Bernabei and go, do you know what? I'm going to do even better. And he could maybe have that left back slot, but by all accounts, if Ange has earmarked Alexandro to be the main man, I think he's going to come and be the main man. And by all accounts, by what I've seen from him, it's very exciting for Celtic fans to have somebody by his talent, I would say, so far in his younger generation.
Yes, definitely, and especially what I mentioned before, he's gonna be for 5 years, and or that the contract would say. So that means that they want to think about Bernabeu as a possible transfer in a future, which means that he needs to perform, which means that Celtic need to give everything to the player. In every single matter, in coaching and football and in everything, the city as well, with the fans, with the beers, that's what. So of course that's going to be interesting to know, and for Greg Taylor as well, because he will be challenged. So if he wants to progress in his career, maybe to move to another country in Europe or to keep performing in the national team. And it's always good for a player to have someone to deal with, or to have like a kind of fight, let's say, or to challenge for that. So it's gonna be good for both of them.
Because I do feel that Taylor hasn't really. Oh, sorry. I don't think Taylor's had a proper challenge this season. Obviously, Bolingoli's out the picture, but it seems that Liam Scales is obviously away at Aberdeen on loan. So there's not really been much of competition for him. It's just been really Greg Taylor. Juranovic has went to left back sometimes, and Ralston played right back. So it could be the case that maybe Juranovic and Bernabei's going to be the top two, because by all accounts, Juranovic for me is unbelievable. I think he's really, really good. He could easily. I know there was some tweets yesterday and the other day before about him moving. I can't see that. Like he says about Bernabei, Champions League's a massive, massive draw for a lot of players, especially when they're going to be 6 massive games at Celtic Park, 3 at Celtic Park and 3 away. So there's a lot of TV now, a lot of TV nowadays. Cameras. There's going to be a lot of time for these guys to showcase their skills if they want to go into kind of a stepping stone. So Greg Taylor's going to get a lot of challenge for me, I would say, by Bernabei, and it's the first time since he's been here, I would say he's had a proper challenge, because even when he was here, it was Laxalt and obviously Bolingoli. I wouldn't say there was massive competition. He's again, so I would say he's going to have a big challenge ahead of him, because I don't think, as I say, I don't think Bernabei's come here to mess about and sit on the bench. I don't think he's come here to do that, because if he was going to be here to sit on the bench, I think he would just play where he's playing. So I don't see him come here and want to challenge himself and be the main man at Celtic.
Yeah, what probably is going to happen is the first game, the friendly games, basically Taylor will play and Bernabei will need this time that we were talking before to get into the team. He's going to be, for me, I think that he's going to be the first choice in that left back. And of course, that's the main point of that. So it's going to be a challenge for both. And especially there's something important here. Because Celtic is going to play like how many games from now till the end of the year, like a lot of games. Between the 3 competition in Scotland and Champions League, is going to be a lot of games. And of course you need players. And when you see the team, the squad that Celtic have at this moment, is not that big to play on every single game. So of course I think we'll need changes, substitutions, and that's important for him.
And there's a comment as well from the YouTube. How far are Lions into their season? Are they far into the season? How does it work there? Is it summer football, or is it a different type to what we are in Scotland?
So difficult to explain, unfortunately. But because of the World Cup is in November this year, the season already started 3 weeks ago. So it's gonna have like a stop, like a break just before the World Cup, and then we will resume after that. So Lanús is performing well. They won the other day. They won last day when on Bernabeu's last game. So they are like a mid-table, but it's too soon to know exactly what is going to happen. But there are a lot of players, and it's complicated the competition. How to explain that?
And as well, as you mentioned, he's obviously played a few weeks in the season. Celtic have signed players who have not been fit before. That's not a comment from YouTube. It's important to see if he's fit, as we've had guys who have come in and not been up to fitness right away. And sometimes, us as fans, we're thinking that he's not good enough because he's not fit. But obviously, Giakoumakis is a big one. He came to Celtic, and I think he was either injured or he came not fit, but then he got injured. Missed a penalty, and a lot of fans got on his back. And I did say when he signed,
I was Celtic,
there. Celtic got an absolute snip for me getting Giakoumakis for, I think it was 2.5 million, 2.75 million roughly. He was a top goal scorer, I think, roughly in Holland. I couldn't believe the stick he was getting just because he missed a penalty. I think it was just because he was new, and like he says, I think sometimes when you're from Scotland, you don't. Again, it can work both ways. Sometimes you don't get a lot of stick, and sometimes you can get too much stick. It's never in between. It's always either the end of the both. So, Giakoumakis, I think for me, I don't think there's a question of who's better or who's suited than him and Kyogo. I do believe that it's either whoever you play is going to do not the same job, but you're going to get somebody who's going to do the job very well. And I think Giakoumakis could be the one who got a lot of stick. And look at him now. I seen a stat. If he played every game this year, when he was fit, he'd have scored 42 goals. Obviously, that's going by the stats. If he did play and score every game, it was in 42 goals. I think he was top goal scorer, roughly. And he only played about half a season. So I do believe that he'll be top notch for Celtic next year. I think he'll be one of the best in the country. I think he's already the best in the country with him and Kyogo. Because obviously Morelos for Rangers, we don't know what's happening with him. There's rumours that he's going to be away. But I do believe that Bernabei has to have time to settle. And the fact that he's coming in fit, Seba, that's going to be vital to Celtic because he won't need to sit and wait to train, play bits and bobs and train. He can just play right away once he's acclimatised to the country.
No, and of course he once he's here and everything is set up, of course that he will start the preseason with the club, which is what Giakoumakis didn't do, if I'm not wrong. So that's gonna be a plus for him once you can actually have the preseason, even though you already had it. But managers are completely different, and once again, the difference between Europe and South America, you will see that difference. So of course that's important for Bernabeu and Ange, of course.
A comment as well on YouTube. What team does Seba support? I don't think we'll say that on the podcast because he's a journalist. So he's just a fan of football, I think.
In Argentina or in Scotland?
I'll say Argentina. I don't want to get you into trouble. So you've got a job, mate. So yeah, I would say Argentina would be good, mate. I don't know yourself who you do like Argentina as well. So I think we'll leave the Scottish team because obviously a journalist and you want to do a lot of stuff with football, so it's unfair to put you in the spot, mate. Yeah, so I would say back in your homeland, what team do you support and how often do you get to go see your team? Do you travel a lot back home as well, or do you stay here permanently now?
Well, the team that I support in Argentina called Independiente.
Okay.
They beat, maybe anyone can remember it, but they beat Liverpool in 1984 in that international cup, and it's the derby of Racing. Racing is the club who unfortunately beat Celtic in 1967. I don't know if you remember in that three finals. And I support Celtic here in Scotland, not only by myself but with the Celtic Supporters Club from Argentina. So I'm and that's my two teams that I would say. But of course, as a journalist, you get through different clubs and you are working with different clubs. So it's good to know that. And your question, if I travel the pandemic was quite difficult, but I'm always trying to watch Independiente games, even though it's probably 1:30 a.m, midnight. But yeah, when I need to work, it's complicated.
Because obviously as well, like you said, getting to the games is obviously hard for you, but the fact that you're still obviously staying up late at night, because Celtic do that as well. You've got fans obviously all over the country, Australia, Japan, Canada, people are all staying up late. So I think if you like football and you love your club, Seba, that's just the way of life, isn't it? You're going to stay up to all ends, to your eyes are dark circles to watch the games.
Yeah, well, it is difficult, especially when you've been watching every single game at the stadium and then you move to a completely different country, and it's like, okay, I'm 28, so I've been 25 years following the club at the stadium, and I work as a journalist at the club. So imagine that was, okay, now what am I gonna do? I mean, I want to go to the game. I want to feel that pressure from the fans, and nice pressure. But now I'm here. I'm trying to get awake every single game, and if not, well, next morning I will know the result.
And obviously, as you mentioned, you do support Celtic in a way here in Glasgow. What's your thoughts on obviously Ange and the current team, and obviously how Bernabei will add to that as well?
Well, of course, that Ange has done it incredibly well in the last season, especially from the previous one that was a mess, or for me was a completely bad season for Celtic when they lost the 10 in a row. So getting to a team like that, and especially I remember that I was criticized and when he came to Celtic because no one knew him. That's the truth, and we all then realized that he's a really good manager and he's doing it well. And so I'm looking forward to the new season. And I'm expecting to see an even better level in the league to get used to again in Champions League, which is gonna be difficult after too many years without playing it. But it's gonna be interesting to see how everything develops.
Yeah, I do agree. It's going to be a hard season, especially some of the players haven't played at that level before. It's kind of a total different dimension of football coming from like likes of Japan and obviously Matt O'Reilly, League One, no played at that standard before. So it's going to be not a shock to the system, but it will be different for the players to play at that level, and some will thrive in it, and some may obviously, as much as we don't want that to happen, some may freeze at the opportunity to do it. So the first few minutes of the first game in Europe, they might go like, "This is massive now." Because obviously you've stayed in Glasgow, so you know how it works in Celtic. 2 or 3 bad games and the fans on your back. I've got a good vibe with Bernabei. Seba, I really have. The fact he's young, he's come here to learn. He's going to have a lot on his plate right away. Coming to Scotland, a young man. Also, has he got a family, or has he come to Celtic? Do you know much about him in that sense? I don't know myself how he's coming.
I don't know yet. Especially because of the checkups that we were talking before. Maybe the family will stay in Argentina and then travel. I'm a friend of Adrian Sporle, which is the Argentinian who played for Dundee United, the left back. Well, actually, kind of wing, left wing as well. And he's not currently playing for Dundee after 3 years. And when you see that example, which was completely different back in 2019. You see and you realize that Bernabei can do it as well. Of course, the level is completely different because the United is not Celtic. Celtic is way bigger than them, but the pressure is going to be quite the same because you need to perform well. And nowadays, football is you don't have too much time. First 2-3 games, but they are all starting to sim. But did we do well? It is a good sign, but it's football. I mean, I'm gonna watch the game on TV or something, but I cannot play it. So that's it. So let's see how he settles in the country, which probably is gonna do it well.
I comment as well. Tell Seba thanks for the hand of God in 1986.
That was really good. Thanks for that. Thank you.
Obviously as well, Seba, Celtic obviously coming into a big season now, obviously Champions League, and Bernabei's going to be probably going to be the left back by all accounts. Is there any other players in Argentina that you can maybe think at the top of your head that maybe could come to Celtic or any other team in the Scottish Premier League that maybe come in and play, or is it quite a hard kind of task to recruit these players and you actually get to see a lot of them?
There are always a lot of players that can play and help Celtic to perform even better. You need scouting. That is what I've been trying to encourage the club since 2008 to try to get into that market because I really know well that was Tomás Belmonte mentioned, and he was a colleague from Bernabeu. They both played last Sunday, and Belmonte was a prospect for Lanús, and of course that you will always find a lot of players. I'm not saying about Argentina only. If you go to Brazil, if you go to Colombia, if you go to a lot of places in South America, you will find that. So I hope that if when Bernabeu, the door is gonna be open for all of that, sorry, and hopefully we can get more South American, not only Argentinians, of course. I would like to see thousands of Argentinian players here, but I'm happy with more South American because the style of football is completely different, and I think that is what Celtic need to play in Europe. Players who can change the way that Celtic was playing in the last couple of years. So you can find these players, and of course that they can help to change that.
I've got a comment as well. Obviously, another player who's rumoured is Souza. Do you know much about him? And do you think if that's a possible transfer? I know I've seen there's might be a bid from Fenerbahce. I know I'm a Celtic fan, I'm going to be a bit biased, but surely if you're a player who wants to progress in their career, surely Celtic would be a better option than Fenerbahce in football terms, because Fenerbahce, they're not really going to get, I think, Champions League level. I don't think they won the league last year. So, did they win the league last year? Did they win the league last year?
I don't remember. No, transfer.
Sorry,
how to pronounce it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was Transport, is that what you call it? Transport?
Yeah. Something like that, sorry.
So, I didn't know if they qualify for Europa League either. So, surely, like we've spoken about, Bernabei, the draw and the lure of the Champions League, surely for Souza, it could be something to get him here. But again, I don't know how good he is. If he is somebody that could come into Celtic, because for me, it is a position that Celtic maybe could explore again.
Well, there are a couple of things that we need to consider first, which is if Bernabeu finally gets into Celtic, it will be like around £4 million. If Jota is doing it again, it's going to be another £7 million. So Maeda is going to be at the club. Celtic signed Sigrid. I know that it wasn't a fee that Celtic had to pay, but it's a contract that you have to. So I mentioned 4 different players who are gonna play, most of them in the first lineup and the first team. So we need to consider that, and there is something important also to take notes about that, and is that the Brazilian players, the young ones especially, they always are expensive, like way expensive with the rest of the market in South America. And so of course that he's not gonna be a cheap and easy to get it. But let's see how it goes in the next days before the preseason.
Because obviously there's rumours about Sorrell leaving Celtic, that Mercedes as well. I feel he's maybe a player that could benefit from going away for Celtic on loan or a transfer, because I don't think he suits Ange's style of play. I don't think he suits Celtic's style of play. He seems a really nice guy. He's always smiling, loves his football, but there's only so much smiling and happiness you can cope as a fan. You want your guy to do it on the park. He's probably amazing in the changing room with the guys, but I think as a player, I don't think Sorrell will cut it to Celtic. Again, if he goes out on loan maybe a season or two, he could cut it, but I just don't feel he's going to suit Ange's style of play, and maybe a guy like Souza could come in and play that. So obviously Rogic is left now, Beaton's left. They've still got obviously McCarthy and either Gucci waiting in the wings. But I do feel that position is somebody maybe they could kind of bring something in and maybe add a bit of steel to midfield.
Yeah, definitely. Celtic need another midfielder, at least 1 or 2 more. I hope this season for Haddad is going to be even better. I think that he performed well, but by the end of the season he was tired. He played a lot of games. He wasn't used to this level or this Europe. Once again, they need time. The non-European players need time to settle in Europe. And hopefully he will do it even better. McGregor, we know what to expect from him. So hopefully we can get another player, another midfielder to help that part of the pitch with the best way.
And obviously he says you're part of the supporters club at Argentina. How is that? How is Celtic in Argentina? Are they massive? Are they spoken about a lot?
Of course.
Because obviously we don't know how obviously Celtic are worldwide, but is there a lot of Celtic a lot of fans in the country? Yeah.
Celtic is a worldwide club. We all know that. Celtic is a massive club. Apart from that, I support Celtic. It is. I mean, of course, the difference with the rest of the world is games are not shown on TV. So if they are not shown on TV, it's difficult to get the attention of the fans. There are fans. We are a lot of fans in South America, but hopefully with another South American, which is Bernabeu, we will get more games shown, playing in Europe as well. So you know how this works. You start to get more engaged with these teams, and hopefully we can get more games back in Argentina.
So I do agree with you that obviously by the looks of it, it's if and not when. It's when. It's not if he's going to sign. That definitely will enhance obviously the rep in Argentina. It will obviously maybe enhance even Celtic financially, because kind of fans for that type of country, they will come over here to maybe go do the tours, they'll buy the slips, they'll go to the games. So Celtic will benefit from that sense as well, like they have maybe from the Japanese market. Japanese people stay in Scotland, they'll obviously go and do the tours more. They'll buy the Hitachi strips, the Kyogo strips. So Bernabei, that could be a thing as well. Financially for Celtic, it could benefit as well from, like you've just says, and people buying season books and tours. It could be even beneficial that way as well.
Yeah, definitely. That is what I was trying to do for many, many years. It is difficult, but now I have something to take, right? If Bernabeu finally get into Celtic and he performs well and he's doing it well, it will be definitely linked to his country, which is Argentina and South America. So it is going to be easier for that, and especially because of the relationship between both countries, Scotland and Argentina. Someone said before about the hand of God. So you have a lot of things. We have a lot of things to make everything easier. So I hope that we can do it.
And is there anything else that, about kind of Bernabei, the football in Argentina, that you like to mention that I've not spoke about? Anything at all we can highlight?
No. Just once again, time. Time is what every single player need. Not only Bernabeu, every single one, every single new player and a club, especially in Europe, and especially if they're from a different part of the world. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm just waiting for the announcement, because you don't want to say, oh yes, that's it, it's confirmed, because you know how football works. But I'm happy that we have another Argentinian in Scotland, and the first one is going to be for Celtic.
It says it's been superb to chat to you, Seba. Getting to know about obviously your country, the style of play that Bernabei's used to as well. Can I get a wee bit exclusive on him as well, because I don't think us as fans know much about him. And obviously it's been good to talk to you, knowing that you're a Celtic fan as well. So, but again, Seba, hopefully it's done soon, and good luck in the future, mate, with your work. Obviously you're a very good journalist. You're getting the stories out quite quick, so a lot of digging as well. It's been good to get interest from you as well and chat to you today, mate. I really appreciate your time. But hail, mate, and take care.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that the moment here, and with the fans asking questions as well. So thanks for having me here.
No, it's my pleasure. And again, it's good to get some communication with the fans. They'll know a lot more now. So hopefully in the next few days we'll get the deal done. And if the deal happens, hopefully during the season, get a wee chat again and get a wee update on his progress. But I'm really looking forward to signing Seba. And thanks a lot, mate. Take care.
Thank you.